Turns out there's something worse than making bad movies that Disneyland does.
I've said for years now, one of the most evil companies on the planet is Disney. I imagine the board of directors is a who's who of supervillains. You probably got Mickey Mouse right next to Lucifer in that seat. It is always shocking
Probably slightly above Lucifer in this case.
to see just how low they'll stoop for the sake of a couple extra doubloons. They're like a real world Umbrella Corp, but instead of manufacturing the T virus that turns people into zombies, they manufacture the D virus that turns people into Disney defenders, where they'll always fight their PR battles.
Sad. Doubloons are cooler because that's blood money, and that would at least make Disney kind of based, but making people into stupid Disney defenders is insane. By the way, the most insane part about Disneyland is probably when it was built, the Disneyland park, right? It was made for children. And you know what happened? Well, parents went there with their children so their children can have fun. And nowadays, Disneyland is literally like a adult daycare center because most people who go there don't even have kids, which is slightly worrying.
For them and constantly empty their piggy bank for anything Disney slaps its fucking logo on. It's sickening, even when they are completely in the wrong. I've been following.
Okay, listen, typically that's true. But remember everyone's favorite Skywalker, Rey Palpatine, and her fat Asian friend? No one bought those toys. Hey, even if Disney slaps their logo on that, no one's gonna buy those toys.
A story for the last couple days, and I imagine some of you have as well. It's a very sad story about a woman who had an allergic reaction and died after eating at a Disney Springs restaurant. And the holly jolly old assholes at Disney are arguing that because the husband signed up for a Disney Plus trial in 2019, he agreed.
Yes, this is real, by the way. This is not satire.
The terms that would basically turn this lawsuit into toilet paper. To any sensible human being on the planet with a functioning frontal lobe, you're probably asking yourself, how does a Disney Plus trial at all have any grounds for this lawsuit when the allergic reaction...
Yeah, you would think that no sane person would assume that this actually works that way. That you buy a Disney Plus and then you lose a hand in the park and then you can't sue them. That is insane. Now, it is actually questionable if that's going to hold up in court because, again, courts are kind of about reasonability to a certain degree, not just, oh, you bought a Disney Plus subscription that you didn't even pay for a trial, and there you go. No, Disney now owns your organs.
Happened at one of Disney's parks. It's not like his wife had an allergic reaction to the dog shit Disney Plus is feeding them. She passed away because of a complete failure from the restaurant. It is entirely their fault. So the couple chose to eat at a restaurant called Raglan Road Irish Pub, and they told the waiter that she had severe allergies to dairy and nuts, and she was unequivocally assured the food would be allergen free. And they chose this restaurant because it is apparently...
Bro, by the way, dairy free and all of this stuff is often a lie.
Apparently very accommodating to people with allergies. So when the order arrived, there was no allergen-free flags, so they inquired again if it was allergen-free and were once again assured that they were safe for her to consume. 45 minutes later, she had an allergic reaction, even asked for administering an EpiPen. She had difficulty breathing, collapsed, and later passed away. And the husband is rightfully...
I mean, the weak get cold.
Trying to sue Disney.
If you can't eat dairy, that's literally a devolution of humanity right there.
Disney for this, because it is a colossal fuck up here. And Disney's just dancing on her grave. They're just spitting on her memory by trying to toss out the wrongful death lawsuit by...
Hey, listen. If there's one thing Disney does, that's that.
Trying to say that the husband signed up for a Disney Plus account in 2019, which has language that prevents them from being sued in this manner. It'd have to be through arbitration, meaning it's overseen by a neutral third party.
Arbitration effectively is like... Well, arbitration... No, don't get me wrong. Disney is still gonna want to give them money, but it's way less than they would get through a trial. That's the thing.
And not a judge. And also, he had apparently agreed to similar terms when purchasing a park ticket online in September 2023. So this opened up a
Damn.
massive can of worms here about all of the sneaky, scummy shit companies sneak into their terms when you sign up for services or if you purchase things online. You know that
Hey, not the only company that's not gonna allow you to sue them if you have bought that product. It happens a lot.
shit that every human being on the planet skips through with agreeing to terms and conditions? Yeah, it turns out sometimes there's some really awful shit in there. I wanted to wait before talking about this because I've been talking to a lawyer about it because I was very curious if there is any legs at all for Disney to stand on here. But I just couldn't wait because I've already
Probably slightly, but again, this is gonna be a judge ruling, maybe. Who knows?
seen a couple of conversations about why it's entirely this couple's fault for gambling with their food allergies.
Gambling.
The state of the world is so fucking saddening. How is it a gamble? So she was allergic to dairy and nuts, and this was made abundantly clear to the staff of a restaurant that is well known for being accommodating
Yeah, and the staff looked at it and said, "Wow, nuts and dairy? Darwin does not approve."
to allergies. Apparently, this restaurant has a commitment to being very conscious of allergens. So they chose this restaurant for that reason and made it very clear multiple times that dairy and nuts were a problem. And they were assured multiple times that the food they had ordered was not going to pose any problems for that allergy.
Well, how that turned out.
They did everything they
I mean, it's tragic, but again, the fact that you're allergic to dairy and nuts, man.
could. That's not gambling, you absolute Cro-Magnon that are arguing that it's actually their fault, Disney's blameless. This is what I'm talking about with the D virus.
Oh no, Disney's completely blameful.
People falling over themselves to try and take bullets for Disney. It is a fuck up from the restaurant and by extension, Disney. I know they have more money than God, but even still, this is such
There's 70 billion in debt, so, that money kind of is just a lot of debt, and that's kind of it. Have fun with that.
an outrageous claim to be making because signing up for a Disney Plus trial should have no effect on what happens at a Disney park. That's not related at all. It shouldn't extend to that. Just imagine if that was normal. Let's say you're on a Boeing flight and all the screws on the flight all of a sudden just spontaneously pop off like a water balloon exploding, and all of a sudden your plane just disassembles itself in the air and you die, everyone dies on board.
Okay, listen, that's your own fault for choosing Boeing. With all the whistleblowers still coming out and everything happening, there's not enough assassins in the world to make everyone shut up at this point. And again, listen, one guy who has been fighting Boeing all that time, saying they are not safe and blah blah blah. Suddenly when he is finally vindicated and proven right, he just decides to actually pop himself in the dome and see what happens. That doesn't work like that, okay? They're not gonna have enough to silence everyone.
Because the Boeing flight
I mean, they're still gonna probably try.
malfunctions, as Boeing flights are
They got Epstein in the prison, for God's sakes, in solitary confinement. Great stuff.
known to do these days. Well, what if Boeing said, that's a real shame about that, but, we can't be held liable for this because every single one of them, when purchasing their tickets online, agreed that no matter what happens, it's going to have to go to arbitration. So, sorry about that, but really condolences. I am super confident that wouldn't work. You can't just have this blanket statement of, whatever happens, not our
Yeah. So, I don't remember when this was, but some big company did this once. They put some kind of really shitty thing in the terms of service, and then they tried to actually get people with it. Oh, you actually signed this, and nothing happened because some kind of, I don't know, some kind of court somewhere, I don't even remember if this was in America, just said, yeah, no one reads the terms of service. You cannot put this crazy stuff in there because no one reads that, and you know that, so stop.
fault, and you agreed to it. See, you said right here, doesn't matter. You're fucked. Like that can't work. And from what I've heard from a couple of lawyers that have talked about it online, as well as a couple conversations I've had, this doesn't really protect Disney, but this has become so common in contracts as
I mean, they're gonna try. They're gonna try this no matter what, obviously.
a way of trying to weasel big corporations out of liability, but it's still scary because it does give them some leverage to fight on. It gives them an angle, and with the
Yep.
amount of money they can pour into defending themselves, it's going to make it very hard for normal people to fight back, even when Disney is 100% responsible for the tragedy that occurred. But at least Disney's very apologetic here. We're deeply saddened by the family's loss and understand their grief. Given that this restaurant is neither owned nor operated by Disney, we are merely defending ourselves against the plaintiff's attorney's attempt to include us in their lawsuit against the restaurant. They're fundamentally going, oh, we don't know those guys. They just use our land. We're kind of just like a landlord. We are not associated with those scoundrels over there at all. No, not us. Nope. You're coming after the wrong guy, bub. Go after them. Not our fault.
To be fair, this is probably the most reasonable defense that Disney can do, and I would be like, well, technically, kind of, yeah, but then again, you did make a park there, and you kind of have more oversight. You should have more oversight than that over it, so it is your fault. But I think that's honestly the most reasonable way that Disney can pretend that they're not responsible here. They are, and they're probably gonna get boned by this, but
And if you do want to go after us, you can't really, because your Disney Plus free trial from 2019. Did you forget about that? Eek, sorry. Now, the lawyer representing the family called it absurd and preposterous, saying that the case is based on the incredible argument that any person who signs up for an account, even free trials that are not extended beyond the trial period, will have forever waived the right to a jury trial, which is pure insanity. And they also argue that Mr. Piccolo, the husband, agreed to the terms
Bro, do you want to honestly piss off Piccolo? I don't know, Disney, maybe think twice.
of use for himself.
He could special beam cannon Bog Biger's head off.
But
Which
he's
would be amazing.
now acting on behalf of his late wife, who never agreed to the terms, which I think is a really strong point. I think the lawyer is right here.
True.
His wife never signed up for the Disney Plus trial, thus she shouldn't be subjected to the fucking shackle and chains that apparently every Disney Plus subscriber is now succumbed to. The lawyer then goes on to say, the notion that terms agreed to by a consumer when creating a Disney Plus free trial account would forever bar that consumer's right to a jury trial in any dispute with any Disney affiliate or subsidiary is so outrageously unreasonable and unfair as to shock the judicial conscience. It really is exceptionally evil, and from what I've read here, it's not exclusive to Disney. So apparently there was even a time where they were going to get close to protecting consumers from this kind of shit with like these arbitration clauses that get snuck into contracts that you sign up for unknowingly, because it is unreasonable to expect anyone to read all 65 pages of every terms and condition for every.
Yeah, and you know what's the funny part is? Now, the argument here, okay, let's make the terms and service pages like 6. If the average was 6, that's still stupid. Because if they are allowed to sneak these things in, congratulations, they're literally going to make the terms and services like 20,000 pages long. So, have fun with that.
Every service you sign up for. There's no human being on the planet that has the chutzpah to sit through and read all of that. But apparently, that ruling that was going to protect consumers got fucked in Congress.
Oh,
so,
really?
It's just, corporations really do operate on a different level than everything and everyone else. So no matter how much they are pushed to stop this shady shit, they can always pay their way out of it so it never actually sees the light of day and they can continue to do the scummiest things. Another quote here is, most of the companies in the US require mandatory arbitration and allows them to, by and large, cut off much relief. Companies love it, but individuals who are harmed by these corporations really don't have any access to any form that would give them relief, as that's a real problem. It just limits consumers' options. It protects companies by fucking consumers in the face. The Supreme Court's view is...
Yeah, and you'd think that the Congress should be kind of for the people or whatever, but instead, okay, we had tobacco, we had big oil, what is it now, Disney and Amazon? Ah, well, how time flies.
If you don't like it, don't sign it. Which is a super easy position to have for all the troglodytes in Supreme Court, because they're so ancient and archaic that these geriatric fossils don't sign up for anything or any service because they don't even know what a goddamn computer is. They're still learning about that.
Now, to be fair, if there's one part of the government that I would say that works in America, it's probably the Supreme Court and IRS. when it comes to hunting down people who don't actually give them enough money. But, the Supreme Court is not supposed to do a judgment based on, yeah, this is reasonable, this is not. The Supreme Court obviously makes this judgment because it's as simple as you are responsible for choosing to sign it. If the Supreme Court actually a verdict was different, then we would probably have a serious problem because that means the Supreme Court is not judging things based on logic, they're doing it on feelings, which is bad, obviously, for a lot of reasons for Americans. So, that's kind of that. Well, anyway, that was Most Critical. Have a nice day. Bye bye.